Hello, welcome back to another video where we're just gonna do some light sketching. Today, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look back on the sketches from my previous session where I used some color pencils. And so if you haven't already, sit down, grab a coffee or tea, and just enjoy a nice session where we can draw together. And I have this long new little board where I'm drawing all of my new characters on, and it's like 20 feet long. It's very mobile, so I get to keep it wherever I want. For today's session, I want to draw the two characters that are up on screen now, so the one we just saw and then this one. And I want to do some 30-minute poses just to try and define my art style. So if you're new here, I'm going to be drawing all these little characters into a new project which I call The Case is Back Open in this lovely weather we have where it's very sunny. And so I'll be trying to limit myself to only drawing digital for this and really trying to hone in my skills of digital painting. So I just took the liberty of putting down the base colors with a little bit of shadows, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep color picking the colors I want, and from there just adding small details here and there until I get the basic shape I want. This is usually how I go about making my sketches, and especially for a 30-minute study like this one, I really don't want to spend too much time fussing over the details. If you're new here, hi, I'm Nicholas Vio. I'm a professional artist in the art industry, and I've been working on small productions and big productions, making art for video games, films, and also my own projects. The best way I found of drawing features is to really just go for it. I'm just gonna draw really quickly, draw in the base shape of the eyes I want, the eyebrows, the nose, and I'm putting down some dark circles just to indicate the actual size of the features, and then I'll go after and really define them. But again, keeping in mind that this is a 30-minute study and I'm really trying to limit myself and just go for the kind of style that I want to create. Since this is a new project, I really have no idea what I'm getting into. I have no real idea of what I want as the stylization type. I know I want it to be semi-realistic, maybe a bit more on the cartoonish side. However, I find it hard to just go on the fly and really just find the art style. And so what I'm doing instead is I'll just try out one color combo right now, and later on I'll use the saturation value sliders to go ahead and adjust it for me. I find that doing this, it really just takes my brain off of trying to pick the right colors, because I can always go and adjust them later. And so I'm focusing more on the expression, on the pose I want, and of course every single detail does not matter here. I'll also be doing another character after this one, where this character will be a bit more integral to the story. Not that this one isn't, but you'll see that I think the other one is going to be interacting with the main character more. And if ever you haven't seen it, my last video was on that main character, where I tried to explore the art style. However, in that video, I think I went a bit too dark. And so for this one, I'm trying to adjust and find a middle ground that I like. I don't want my colors to be oversaturated. The dark aspect of like the film noir aesthetic. And so when I'm trying to combine the two, I'm thinking of doing something that's like a red and green color combo. Because they are complementary on the color wheel, I find that it's a bit easier to just try out those two colors in one of the future videos I'll make. So if you aren't already subscribed and you want to follow along to this journey, I recommend you just click the little button and that way you'll know of my future uploads where you can start to see this project take form. Now that I've got the basic idea for the character, I'm just taking the time to just slightly change up the features, make it look more towards the expression I want. I want her to look a bit crazy, a bit goofy, almost like she hasn't slept for like a little while now, and she's just constantly having fun in the office because she's been drinking way too many coffees. And I hope that kind of conveys it by the end of this drawing. Maybe not now, but we'll get there. Don't worry. So at this point, I think I'm around 10 minutes into the drawing process. So I'm just going to spend a bit more time focusing on the silhouette of the hair, putting a bit more details in where I want the main focal point to be. And so I'm adding a tiny bit of orange near the face, but still in the hair, so that way the eye looks at that orange and then immediately focuses on the face afterwards. It's kind of these little tricks that you learn all across your artist journey that really help you focus on the parts of your drawing that you want the viewer to see. And it takes a while to learn them, but once you've got them, you can intentionally trick your viewer into seeing it the way you want to see it. With that being said, I want to focus more on the eyes because I think that's the most important part of any face. People who are looking at your drawing will always try and find the eyes first, even if it's not in the focal point of your drawing. And so it's very important to just put a tiny bit more detail into those eyes and everything around it because of that subconscious shift when we're going from one art piece to another. Another thing I haven't mentioned is you can clearly see I'm using a reference right next to it, and it looks extremely similar to the woman who I'm drawing. And so I'm not trying to make any new outfits today. That's not my goal. I'm really trying to define what artistic style I want. I know I've been saying it all throughout the video, but I want to keep repeating it because I think it's one of the most important things to take away. When I'm designing today, I might not be focusing on character design, outfit design, or anything like that. Yes, I can add personality to my drawing and make her feel more unique. However, I'm trying to find my artistic voice with this drawing. I have had different styles in the past, working throughout different projects, on different companies, and on my own as well. But when I'm trying to draw this new project, I want to have fun when I'm drawing it. And I think the last one, my last project, failed in a way because I wasn't having fun near the end of that drawing, near the end of that project. I was more hoping to get to the next drawing, the next, and the next, and the next. And I realized that I wasn't focusing on the ones I was drawing currently. And so by finding this new style, I think it's probably one of the most important parts. And if I don't find something that sticks, I won't be excited to draw it in the future. And so maybe you can apply that to your own work, and maybe you've been drawing the same style, but you've kind of just been losing inspiration for it, motivation for it, and sometimes branching out to something new, something that's a bit foreign to you. Like for me, this cartoonish style is not usually something I gravitate towards. Yes, my work in the past has been very similar to it. However, I think I want to try and express myself in a different way. Always repeating the same projects over and over and slapping a new title on it can be cool. Sometimes you get new characters, you get new world building, you get whatever you've created, but always staying in the same style can be great for job opportunities and staying to a consistent style. However, the same could be said about changing up your style. If someone can see that you can work in a semi-realistic way, a cartoonish way, and other styles, you might be more of a generalist on a production. And so if you find yourself gravitating towards roles that require less specialization, like a concept artist, I'd recommend trying to branch out to different styles and see what you can come up with. I don't say this because I think I know everything. I have had some experience because I've been a style guide artist throughout many productions, or whatever you want to call it, concept artist. And so finding the visual direction for a project is one of my specialties. Even though it takes so much time trying to find it, and sometimes it can take months of revision trying to find which style sticks more or which audience would prefer, and small little details that no one would ever notice. I think it's important to not only do that, but also to almost make yourself what we call a style Bible in the industry. And what a style Bible is essentially just a rule book of what art choices you can draw as the artist. So if you didn't know this, many companies like Disney, or pretty much any other big companies that make animation movies or video games, all have this in their productions. Okay, it's very, very important for every single company to have that. And so that way, when new people get hired on, or other people forget about the rules, they can always look back at this style guide Bible and then remake their art according to that art style. And so this goes down to the absolute smallest details, onto what a character would look like with glasses, what a character would look like in this kind of shadow, and pretty much anything you can think of would be in this art style book. And so when we're making an art style guide for ourselves, for our own productions, I think even though you might not want to take it as seriously as those AAA game studios, you need to make yourself abide to some rules. Whether that be every single character has to have some kind of material specific to that world building on their clothing, or every single character's eyes have to have 3 highlights in them. Small rules like this can make an overall project feel more centered and all connected together in unity. Without all these rules, some parts can look very unconnected to the world, and I recommend that if ever you're looking at any kind of animated show or video game, try and find something that sticks out to you. Maybe a character that doesn't look like it's intended for this world. Oftentimes, when we're looking at these characters that don't belong, we can try as artists to see what would make them stand out more, make them look more connected to the world. And by doing this, we intentionally become better artists ourselves, because we're looking over the mistakes of others and seeing how we could have fixed them. And this applies to your own work as well. If you want to go back in the past and look at your work that you've done over the years and see, why did that character not work? Was it because they didn't feel as connected to the other people? Did it happen because their outfits looked like they were in a 2000 modern era when everyone else was in a medieval era? It's all these tiny little changes and tiny little choices that add up over time and make our world feel connected together. I finally want to mention my own company. If you didn't know, I offer some services where I work one-on-one with you to create your own career, to create your own portfolio that you can submit to a job site, and also just work on your own art. If you've never had a teacher teach you how to draw digitally, I've had many years of digital drawing in the past, and so if you want personalized one-on-one sessions where I give you actionable feedback to improve your work week after week or month after month, this would be the perfect thing for you. So if you're interested, you can go down in the description of this video. Prices start at $75 per session. I hope to see you there. Okay, so now we get to the fun part. This is where I start to change the values and the saturation and go about trying to find the colors that will fit my project best. I'm gonna constantly just switch side to side, adjust my colors, and what I'm looking for again is that red and green contrast where the red doesn't pop out too much and I want the green to kind of look dark and unsettling, and so that way we'll get a bit more of a feeling of reddish in the cheeks and on the nose and where all those freckles are. So after a tiny bit of adjusting, you can see now it looks a bit more red, and overall the impression that I want to give with the style. I think this is a good start to where I'm trying to take this project, and I'm pretty happy with the overall colors. So now I'm just going to add some final touches where I'm going to finish off this 30 minutes study, and then I'm going to move on to my next one. So as a final thing I want to test out, I just want to see how it looks with a bit of a darker ambiance in the background. And I think this suits it well. I think it's a good start to where I want this project to go. And so with that being said, here is the final result for this character right here. If you have any name suggestions, I would love to hear them in the comments. So let's move on to the next character. With this one, I want to make sure that I'm not boring you guys too much, and so what we'll do is we'll just make a quick time lapse of this new 30-minute study I've done. And again, I'm just going in with the basic shape, putting some dark colors down, not really making any kind of sketch. And I'm going with the features, just trying to make a nice silhouette that I like for this character. I want him to look playful and like he's always making jokes, and sometimes those jokes are not appropriate for work, and so sometimes he gets in trouble with HR, and I don't really have many things that I can reveal yet about his story. But what I can say is that I think he's going to be a very iconic character. And so I can't wait to draw him more, along with all the other ones that I have planned. This will also be the final character of this session and this video. And so if ever you're doing your own drawings, I would love to know what you drew during this video. Maybe you just did a quick little doodle. Maybe you did a final piece where you finished up an illustration you've been working on for the past week. And so if you've got any kind of artwork that you'd love to tell me about, please write them down in the comments. I'm always interested in what you're all doing at home or at work or wherever you draw. I think this character was way easier to draw than the one at the start of this video, simply because I had already messed around the art style that I wanted, and now what I could do is I could just simply color pick from the woman in the top right, you can see, and I would just slightly adjust the colors as I go, and that saved me a lot of time. And so what I could do with this sketch is I could refine it a tiny bit more in this 30 minutes than I could with the other one. I had a lot of fun just playing around with the silhouette of his hair and trying to make it look like he doesn't really spend that much time on it in the morning, and he kind of just wakes up and he's like, I'm going to work, and whatever happens, happens. Of course, with that being said, none of the characters here are in their final designs. I've really just only started this project 2 weeks ago from the recording that I'm doing now on March 27th. And so when I'm drawing these, just know the design will probably change over time, and will constantly evolve as I'm finishing up the pre-production of this project. And I'm hoping to get to the point where I can actually start to draw all the nice illustrations sometime at the end of this year, maybe sooner. We'll see how much work I have, as I do have other jobs outside of this. I'm taking the projects I want to make, and of course I can always include it in my portfolio and on my socials where I post, but this is really just art for me, and I'm just making a cool project out of it. I'm really excited to just start a project on YouTube. This is the first one I do, and so having you along with the journey as I record it is something new for me, and it's just been very rewarding to see all the engagement on the past different videos I've made, and seeing that you're all very interested in the things I draw. I want to thank you all for leaving nice messages, leaving nice comments, and just encouraging me to continue to draw. Even as I'm not getting paid for this and it's just my personal work, I still find it very engaging, and it's the reason why I started to draw in the first place, just to enjoy myself. And I hope that if you're drawing along with me today, you feel enjoyment as you're drawing, and hopefully not too much frustration over little details that aren't working out too bad, because we can always go back over them and adjust them. And just like that, we're at the end of the time lapse. And so, I happily present the final outcome of these two characters. Again, they don't have any names, and so if you want to leave them in the comments, feel free to. But as I wrap up this video, you can look over other videos just like this one, right here pinned on the screen. Hope to see you again. Leave a like if you liked the video, and consider subscribing. See you next time. Bye-bye.